Welcome to Artistic Adventures. We're up to episode 3, and we're making this guy, this cute little guy. And today we're just going to work on the ears. So let's get started. So the ears are like a big portion of his head, exactly the same width of his face, 12.5 centimeters. So they're pretty big, and that's going to prove a challenge with the silicone. But I think I have an idea of how to do that. So just stay tuned, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So I'm just measuring again just to make sure that I've got the right measurement, and then we're going to multiply that times 3. Actually, the 12.5 is the multiplied times 3. Sorry, I'm sure I confused you after I started with this. I think it was 3.5 centimeters, and then you multiply it times 3, and that gave us 10.5. Okay, so that's the width, or the length, I guess, really, of the ears. And then the other thing is to see how tall they are. And once we have them in proportion, then I think, this is going to work pretty well. I'll show you my plan. So basically, I'm kind of cutting out a slightly curved line. And then the ears themselves are pretty much straight in this picture, so that's how I'm gonna make them for our little creature. I think certainly in the series, as he's emotional or the wind's blowing, they can go in different directions. But for this purpose, we're gonna just make them straight. All right. So this is the length right here. That's the 12.5. And if we look at this again and measure how tall they are, and once again we're going to do this in centimeters or millimeters, whichever you prefer, and then multiply that times 3, and that will give us how tall they are. And I don't think I remember what it was. Looks like it's 5.7. You can see my calculator. Yep, 5.7. So that's how tall. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that bottom part. And then they sort of curve a couple of directions. So I'm going to do an initial cut, and then I'll go back and kind of make it look better. Because I think my first cut's always going to be a little bit off. But I make it bigger rather than smaller, and you can always cut it down. So it's got like a curve up from the head, and then it kind of goes down again and then up towards the ear. So if I start over at the end of the ear where it's really pointy, and then come down, I can get a little bit better angle on this. All right. So just going to trim that up a little bit, and then I think that's going to be pretty good. So once we have one of these, we can cut the other one out because they're exactly the same shape. Go figure. So I'm just trimming off a little bit of this to make it look more like the picture. And that's the shape that we got. So I'm leaving this the thickness of how it's rolled through the machine, just because it's nice and flat. And I can put it against the head with the aluminum foil on it and get the shape of the rounded part that's going to go against the head. So speed this up because that's really simple to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is make that sort of ridge on the top of the ear, and it's thicker closer to the head than it is out near the point. So I'm just sort of rolling out a piece that's thicker on one end and thinner on the other. And then we're going to put that on top of the ear. I'm having so much fun with this, other than the part where I cracked the body open. We'll get to that, I think, in the next video, or maybe the one after that. I'm not sure, but if I hadn't done that, I would be so far along on this project. I would have already probably poured the silicone, but I've had 3 days of trying to repair it. So the epoxy that I'm using for one part of it, it has to dry overnight. Right now I'm just smoothing the back of the ear to that ridge that I made. So smoothing that down so that it's nice and round all the way around. Just using my fingers. So I'm not really worried about this not being exactly smooth because I think, I think he's going to have some lumps and bumps anyway. And then I have an idea for how to put some little hairs on him after we get the silicone out. So it's not going to really matter anyway on certain parts of him. The inner ear, that flat part does look pretty flat, so that's why I'm going to leave that. Now that he's got that little curved area right inside, so I'm going to do that part next. I'm just rolling out a little sort of C-shaped piece, and it's a little bit thinner on both ends, a little bit thicker in the middle. I'm going to curve that around, and then we'll smooth that down on both sides and make that look smooth. And that's sort of like the, how we have those ridges in our ear. That's like his one ridge. He may have more inside, but we can't see inside his head. I'm also rolling out a smaller piece that's going to go along the bottom of the ear, sort of to help give this ear some structure. Sometimes I think I see that he has a little ridge on the bottom, and sometimes I think it's just straight, but it won't hurt. This is our version anyway. We get to make him however we want. So that's how it's going to look once we get it all smoothed out. But until I get this C-shaped piece done, I'm going to have to move that bottom piece a little bit because I haven't already got it smoothed down. I like this tool. I think I've told you before, this is my favorite tool for so many things. But in the end, I do end up smoothing it with my fingers a lot because it's just, I don't know, looks nicer, looks smoother. Once again, I'm not worried about it being exactly perfect. I just think, humans are not perfect in the way their bodies are, and I don't think aliens are either. That's my story anyway. I don't know about you guys, but that's my story. And once we get that smooth, then I can put that little bottom ridge on. And I'm going to do that the same way. I'm just kind of going from the back and smoothing it over the round part with my fingers. And that's pretty much it. I'm not even going to really worry that it doesn't exactly fit the head, because I think when it's made out of silicone, I'm going to have some ability to, to move it around a little bit. And when I look at the picture, it seems like it sort of comes down, that thick part comes down a little bit more, sort of at a triangle there against his head. So I'm going to add a little lump of clay and give that part at the top a little bit more thickness. And basically, once I do this, I'll do the other ear exactly the same way. So if you can do one ear, you can do the other way. Just turn it around the other way. So I'm just smoothing it down, making sure it's nice and connected to the other clay. And since I want to try to put a wire in this, I want to make sure, that I have a nice thick piece up there anyway. So I think it's going to have a wire for support. So that'll be something interesting to do. So that looks a little bit better to have that thicker instead of just coming straight across. And smoothing it out, doing some final touches. Are any of you guys making Yodas too while we're doing this? I just wondered. Let me know in the comments. And I do appreciate all the comments everybody's been leaving. Especially we have a lot of new members, I think, from the Reborn doll community and the silicone doll community. Now that I've learned they're kind of the same, but they're not the same, right? I'm learning. So welcome to you guys, and enjoy having you guys with us. Hope you're enjoying this. So I'm just mashing this against the head with aluminum foil on it, just so that I can easily peel it off. So it's curved, to fit the head. And it looks like it's fitted just about halfway back on his head. So that's kind of where I'm looking at doing this. I'm just sort of smooshing that down on top of it, and that'll give me basically the curve that I want. Like I said, I'm not going to be too upset if after I cook it, because the clay does shrink a little tiny bit, and it may just be a little bit off, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But anyway, we have the basic shape there, and I think we've got plenty of room to put the wire in. So I've done both ears. I baked them. It's kind of a short video, but something that we needed to talk about, so I wanted to do this kind of separately. We're going to cast these separately too. We're not going to cast with the body and the head. We're just going to do them separate and then attach them to the head afterwards. But anyway, I think they're going to work fine, and I think once they're in silicone, they're going to look a lot more like his ears do anyway. So there's a top part where we're going to put the wire in there. So hopefully my idea will work. I always love challenges like that. That's why I like adventures, artistic adventures, right? All right, so there they are. That's all for this video. I hope you guys are enjoying making something out there and being creative. And next time we come back, we're going to work on the body and then repairing the body. So if you haven't already, be sure and subscribe to my channel, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thanks, and bye.